Greg, nearly 77,000 at Memorial Stadium. I guess one thing is certain, despite all the changes, the fan support for this program is certainly as strong as ever.
They love it. They absolutely love it. And football is just weaved through the fabric of people in this area. And that Husker football is kind of the end-all, beat-all for a lot of people. And I think they're excited about what they've heard from Coach Riley and his staff. They like the upbeat attitude. They like the refreshing approach that they bring to it. And I think there's real genuine excitement about the program.
Of course, the spring game is what we all get to see, but you get to see what goes on inside, especially with spring practice, where really most of the work is done. How quickly did it take for you to notice a marked difference in just the way this team goes about things when you started watching the practice with Coach Riley running the helm?
Well, there's some subtle differences. I mean, football practice is football practice. Everybody does a few different drills here and there, but I think the biggest changes you see are on the offensive side of the ball. This group, and I think you saw it even Saturday in the breakout of run plays to pass plays, it was about 60-40 pass to run. And I think that's kind of what this staff wants. They want to throw the football. They want to push it down the field a little bit. I don't think they did a lot of that Saturday, but they're going to want to attack the defense down the field some through the passing game. So it's a little bit different style of offense than what we've been in the past. It's not as drastic a change for Nebraska from the Solich to Callahan here. It's not that big of a change, but it is a change, and it's going to be more of an emphasis on the passing game.
As you saw practice and you saw them go into this new pro-style offense, whose game seemed to just flow effortlessly into this new scheme, and whose game seemed to maybe need a little bit of work under this new scheme?
Well, if I'm a wide receiver, I love this because they're going to be a bigger focal point of this offense, and particularly in some of the jet sweep motions where the wide receiver goes in motion and then gets a handoff from the quarterback. And when you think about that, you think about DeMornay Pearsonell. He is going to be a big focal point for this offense, and why not? He's one of the best playmakers in the country. And I also think the big news in the offseason was getting the 6th-year of eligibility for Jamal Turner, because I think Jamal Turner's talents can really shine in this offense, and he made a couple of nice plays in the spring game on Saturday. So for those two kids, I think their eyes are wide open, and they're drooling a little bit right now with this offense. The bigger challenge has been for the quarterbacks. All 5 of Nebraska quarterbacks are dual-threat quarterbacks. Well, not that they're going to be told not to run anymore, but the emphasis on the run part of the quarterback game at Nebraska is going to be greatly diminished with this offense.
Tommy Armstrong seems to be a clear number one heading in. So that being said, who is making the most serious run right now at being that number 2 quarterback?
Well, I think, before Saturday, and maybe even still after Saturday, A.J. Bush, I think, had worked himself to the number 2 spot. Redshirt freshman from Georgia. Love him. Left-handed thrower, long legs. He can run a little bit, buy some time to keep plays going. We saw that a little bit on Saturday. And so I think he went into the game as the number 2. And I think Zach Darlington was number 3. And then Zach played great. So maybe Zach closed the gap or perhaps even overtook A.J. Bush for the backup quarterback spot. And people, Jeff, should not be surprised about Zach Darlington's abilities. This was a young guy that Urban Meyer really wanted at Ohio State. He was a really talented kid coming out of high school. Had the concussion issue his first game of his senior year of high school, and his dad, who was his head coach, shut him down. He said, "We're not taking any more chances. We're going to shut you down." So he's really gone without contact for about 18 months. But I thought he looked sharp. And I will tell you, the light went on for Zach Darlington about the 3rd week of spring practice, where he really started to understand this offense, and he made some really good plays on Saturday.
So you mentioned the receivers and the quarterbacks excited about this new scheme. What about the running backs, and where does the running game fit in with this new offense?
Well, let's review a little bit how spoiled we've been. I mean, when you've had a run of Roy Halou, followed by Rex Burkhead, followed by Amir Abdullah, you just have had an all-purpose back who could do it all, and all 3 of those kids. I don't know that we have that with this batch. We have some talented players. Terrell Newby's really good. Amani Cross serves a role. Adam Taylor is a nice back. Mikhail Wilbon's a real shifty back who made a couple nice runs on Saturday. But I don't know that any of them are going to be every down backs. So it could end up being a back by committee for Nebraska in the fall. Now, don't get me wrong. They're not going to ignore the running game. They want to have the ability to run the football. But I don't know that Nebraska has a 1,000-yard rusher for this offense anyway with this group of backs. But I like the talent, and I like the different skill set that each one of those kids brings to the table.
Up front, you got a veteran group of guys, and then you've got Coach Kavanaugh. And everything I've read about Coach Kavanaugh, listening to the players talk about him, they talk about how technical a coach he is and how he really has taken the offensive line position and taken it back to the basics almost of how to block 101 almost.
They are. A little bit different approach from the offensive line standpoint from the previous staff. And Coach Kavanaugh is trying to work through that a little bit. He's really big on pass blocking and pass pro blocking. That's something that the old group didn't work as much on. It wasn't that big a part of the offense. So that's an adjustment period. I talked about the adjustment for the quarterbacks. Same thing for the offensive linemen for Nebraska that are going to have to go through this. That's going to be an interesting position group to watch in August. Because I think we left spring with probably 2 of the 5 starters picked out. Alex Lewis at left tackle, Chongo Condola at right guard. I believe once Ryan Reeves gets completely healthy by midsummer, he'll have a leg up on the center position. But then the other 2, the right tackle spot and the left guard, those are still open, and that's going to be fun to watch in August when they get back to practice.
On the defensive line, of course, trying to fill in for Randy Gregory, who's off to the NFL now. Is Malik Collins that guy who now can become the star of this defense, do you think?
He's a stud. He is just an absolute stud. And he's got running mates. I mean, Vincent Valentine's really good as well. Kevin Williams, Kevin Maurice are really good players. So they feel like they've got 4 or 5 really nice defensive tackles. And if you feel like you're going to a year with 5 defensive tackles, you're in really good shape. But Malik Collins is a pro. Now, I'm hoping he has 2 more years at Nebraska, not 1. But he's a really special player. And if you want to be really good on defense, that's a pretty good place to start, those defensive tackles.
Is the linebacking core the biggest question mark? I mean, obviously Josh Banderas is back and Michael Rose-Ivy is back, but he didn't play at all last year because of injury. Is this the biggest question mark on the defense, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And really from the lack of depth. And there's a group of incoming freshmen that 1 or 2 are probably going to have to get themselves ready to play come September. Getting David Santos back, who did not go through spring because of an off-season surgery, that will be huge. So I don't know that the depth problem once the freshmen get here is going to be a real big issue, but experience may be the other part of it because only Santos has played an awful lot of football. Banderas starting to get some numbers on his back as well, but Michael Rose-Ivy played 1 year and then got hurt, so he's only played 1 full season of college football. So the lack of experience, that group's going to have to be a group that's going to have to grow up as we get into the season.
And then the defensive backs banged up. We know Nate Geary, our own Sioux Falls kid, missed the game because of a knee injury. He's out until June. Daniel Davey was out with an ankle. And then so you've left with a lot of young kids that are vying for those spots in the secondary.
But there's a lot of them. And I like the depth in that group, and I think that there's adequate numbers and adequate talent to be really good on the back end of the defense. Getting Gary back, getting Daniel Davey, who's had a gimpy ankle through most of the spring. Poor Charles Jackson with another injury that kept him out of a bulk of spring, getting him back on the field. So, and Byerson Cockrell hurt his shoulder a little bit in the game the other day, but it doesn't look like it's too serious. But there are enough numbers there that group should be pretty good.
So with Coach Riley, Greg, here's a guy that obviously has a very, very proven track record and been around this game a long time. How much of himself and his game has he brought, and how much is he trying to honor the tradition of Nebraska football? Because it's a balancing act.
Well, he totally, this entire staff, they've really, really embraced the tradition and trying to wrap their arms around it. They want to talk to the Charlie McBrides of the past and the Milt Tenopers and the George Darlingtons, those great assistants from Coach Osborne's years. They want to know, how did you do it? What did you do here? What did you do? How did you put this in place? So they've really done a great job of trying to do that. But obviously, Mike Riley is not a spring chicken. He's been around the block an awful lot. He's been a head coach for a long time. He has his way of doing things. So I think he will find the right mix of honoring the past traditions and the past rituals of Nebraska football, but he also has to put his own stamp on it as well, and I think he's well on his way to doing that.
And then guys that will make an impact on this team that didn't play in the spring game because they're not even in school yet. Are there some guys to look forward to there?
Well, I think in that linebacking core, yeah. I think that there's going to be some guys that could have a chance there. And also, Nebraska signed a tight end from Northern California. The tight ends are going to be a big part of this offense as well. Ethan Carter, who this staff really likes, he got hurt halfway through spring, so he didn't compete in the back half. But he had done enough before that they're like, wow, we can utilize this kid a lot. But they want the tight ends catching footballs. And so Matt Snyder, kid that Nebraska signed in February, I think he'll have a chance to come in and compete as well.